Hi and welcome to another edition of Waterways News on www.waterwaysnews.com, and another completely jam-packed issue. Apologies for the late updates on the videos. That's not us, that's YouTube in this case. Had a few problems, as everybody knows. Right, the three major fronts that I'm going to concentrate on. One is pollution, one is the ongoing story with piracy, and the third one is the swine flu affair. On the pollution side of things, the cover says it all really, the most dangerous job in the world, and I've titled it Breaking Ships, Breaking Men and Breaking Beaches. In this case the focus is on Bangladesh, but there are other places in South Asia where activities are similar. Well, it's sort of very surrealistic, this front cover. It reminds me of a Salvador Dali painting. And I see in it people shackled. These beautiful people of Bangladesh, shackled in every facet of their lives. Shackled by the shipbreakers, shackled by the politicians, and shackled by the agencies that control ships and ought to be looking after this. The reason put forward by the politicians and the powers in Bangladesh and others is that this industry provides jobs to the world's poorest people, that the steel is needed, and that ancillaries from these ships are used in places. I beg to differ. I'd say that the shipbreakers in these countries are gangsters. They're not the captains of industry that they claim to be. There are plenty of people on the continent or on the subcontinent that have done amazing things in a very clean and open manner. Against this, there's this one woman who's fighting them with some success. Her name is Rizwana Hassan. She's a lawyer, and she's already successfully stopped a couple of ships coming in. I recommend you see the video. She just won an award and is getting known internationally. Coincidentally, the IMO, which is the International Maritime Organization, held a 5-day conference in Hong Kong focusing on this issue. What teeth this organization has, nobody knows. But the Secretary General of the organization, one Mr. Ephemios E. Metropolis, forgive my lisp, made a very eloquent speech in which he tried to reasonably balance the whole thing. He said, look, on the one hand they need this money and they need the steel and they need the employment, but on the other hand there are advantages. Fair point. And one of the advantages, or some of the advantages he cited, was the fact that these ancillaries, namely the generators and a few of the pumps and so on from these ships, go towards hospitals and schools and so on. Again, I beg to disagree. I think this is a smokescreen and it's poppycock. Since when, Mr. Ephemios, was there a hospital built in Greece, to pick a country, using 40-year-old second-hand generators for which you can't get spare parts? Is this the right way to start? Is this the foundation stone of a hospital, for God's sakes? Can we have less of the smokescreen and more of the action, please? Because, fortunately, media is now covering these affairs, and it's brought these things to the table. You, your organization, and everybody in the industry knows where dead ships go. You, your organization, and everybody in the industry knows what's going on. You, your organization, and your industry have been forced to put this agenda on the table because now there are activists and mainstream media gunning for it. And we will not go away. People's lives are more precious. What kind of economists do you speak to when these things are put forward? How much will it cost to clean these beaches? I bet you these generators are going into hospitals and being billed as new. My bottom dollar. This issue will not go away. Speaking of pollution, the other horrible one, and I could have capitalized on this, I could have used the images, but we've already got some horrible images. I did not want to enter into more, and I don't wish to speculate on or splendorize, or whatever it's called, the word escapes me, on people's miseries. But Newsnight, BBC and The Guardian have actively been covering the dumping of toxic slops in Abidjan in West Africa, where 95,000 people were affected when a ship, the Pablo Koala, dumped 2 tons of slops. Everybody washing their hands off, but there is real evidence on this. Fortunately, they've arrested people, and Greenpeace on the scene again. They've managed to paint on the side of this ship a very poignant message. It says, "L'Europe intoxiquée, l'Afrique." It's not about countries, it's about individuals. These are money-hungry individuals doing it. One chemist summed it up very nicely. He said if the same quantity of slops had been dropped or dumped into Trafalgar Square, several million people for miles around would have been very ill. No doubt the practice would have disappeared as well. That's on the pollution front. On the pirate front, there's all sorts of goings on. Mr. Andrew Manguero, they're going to make a movie on him, Fame, figures again in the release of a Greek ship. And Blackwater, you know them? They were the private company in Iraq. They're in the news again. They've motored down to those parts of the world because the world can't do without Blackwater. Rambo-like poses in front of the ivory tusks in Mombasa. It's just crazy, this. Anyway, they start off on the wrong foot. 3 of their crew members have accused them of racial harassment and all sorts on board the ships. They'll be taken to court. And finally, swine flu. Well, there's been incidents, 20 people in America affected, 18 of those on US Navy ships, and also passenger ships. The Royal Caribbean's Serenade of the Sea, I believe, it was in Alaska when they suspected 2 cases. They looked after it really well. It wasn't swine flu at all. And the other case was Carnival's Victory, where it called at Bridgeport in the Caribbean. And as soon as everyone ashore, the dock workers and so on, heard that there's a ship coming in with somebody quarantined for swine flu, everybody scuppered. Even the taxi drivers left their taxis in place, and boy, they went. Turned out the man had the common cold. I'll be updating again tomorrow. Plenty more to say on all of these issues. Remember, news is stories, and stories continue. Nothing is more interesting than stories of the sea. Until we meet again tomorrow, from me, from Captain Thoughtful, remember, if you do it with integrity, God will smile upon you. This has been Jeet Bahal. Check us out on YouTube, on Waterways News, Twitter, Waterways News, and of course, the site. Bye now.